Hello everyone, my name is Billy and welcome to part 1 of my Azure DevOps tutorial where I will be showing you how to use Azure pipelines to deploy any of your apps, whether it be ASP.NET Core, Vue, Nux, React, Next, or Angular 7, and even any other apps you guys would like to know in the future. So on today's agenda, I will first be creating an app service through the Azure portal, and then I'll create a project through Azure DevOps, and finally I will configure our local Visual Studio to be the most productive. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get started with the first task, which will be adding your app service. So let's go to the Azure portal, sign in, and start by adding our app services to our favorites list. So the two things you'll need is app services, and you'll be needing the app service plan. And the app service plan is just an organization for your multiple instances of your app service. So it has a one-to-many relationship with this. Let's start by creating our app service plan. And you'll just have to give it a name. So I'm going to give it just here learning plan. I'm going to use my free trial and I'm going to choose my existing group. And the next thing is operating system, Windows or Linux. So I actually have a interesting blog post that you can check out here about performance between Linux and Windows, and the TLDR of this is basically the Linux environment is quite more performant than the Windows one, but you'll notice that the pricing tiers are a little bit different. Linux is cheaper, but the Windows one does have a dev test environment where you can have actual free tier and the shared infrastructure. The Linux one unfortunately does not have this, so just keep that in mind when you're choosing this, so you can kind of choose the right operating system, because once you choose it you can't go back. So I'm going to go Windows. I'm going to choose the shared free tier just because I'm doing demo purposes, and I'm also going to change my location to Canada Central. So I'm going to click create and I will continue once this is created. Okay, it looks like mine is created. I'm just going to click refresh real quick. Perfect. So you can see that there's 0 apps right now. I'm going to go create my app service now. So I'm going to go app service. I'm going to add. I'm going to just create a web app. You can look through the whole list of things here, but for this purpose, I'm going to create a web app. And then now you're going to have to give this a name, and the name will be a part of the URL unless you obviously give it a custom URL. So let's just give it just here learning app. Okay. Resource group, I want to have the same because I like it nice and organized. And now you can choose Windows or Linux, and then you can choose publish from code or Docker image. So I'm going to turn off app insights table because I don't need that. And I'm going to ensure that one we just created, which was just your learning plan. So make sure we choose that, and then we click create. So this will do some validations and create. So continue the video once again after this. All right, so it looks like mine is completed. Validation successful. So let's click here, make sure we see our app, and also when we click here, we make sure we see one app is running. All right, perfect. So let's go on and make our Azure DevOps project now. So let's continue and create our Azure DevOps project. Okay, so I'm going to go to dev.azure.com and then your domain. If you don't have an account, just sign up for an account and then it will take you here. So we're going to create just here learning. Give this, I guess we don't really need to give it a description. Make sure you make it private, click create project, and this will just take a few seconds for it to create. Once it is created, you should see something like this, and you can navigate around the different places. They have a board, so it's kind of like a Jira. They have the repo, which is like GitHub, and then this is what we will be interested in later, which is their build and release pipeline. So for now, let's start configuring our Visual Studio to actually use the repo that they've set up, or alternatively, if you've already set up your Git, then you don't really need to do this part, but we're going to set this up anyways. Okay, so let's go ahead and start setting up our Visual Studio environment. So I'm going to open Visual Studio, and one of the things you want to do is actually sign into your Azure account. So I'm going to sign in here. And this would just kind of like make your Visual Studio integration just a bit better. So you can just right click publish, or you can have access to your cloud services. If you go to view, you go to your Cloud Explorer, you'll actually start seeing your services. This makes life a little bit easier. Okay, so signed in. Let's connect, manage connections, and let's connect to that repo we just created. This should have been should be this right here. So clone that locally. Okay, and I think this is basically a good starting point to start setting up different various Azure pipelines. Okay, so it looks like we got all our pieces ready. We have our app service on Azure portal, we have our DevOps project, and we have our local Visual Studios configured. So in the next video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to publish using Visual Studio. And then after that, I'm going to show you Azure DevOps. And then following that is going to be all the various Vue, React, and other apps. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching.